when you're ready to talk. All right, let's get started. Let's try to be in and out 90 minutes. We got a few new guests, so welcome, and then welcome back to everybody else. Appreciate you jumping on. Rules of engagement, real quick. Stay muted when you're not talking, and when you want to talk, just unmute yourself, and then when you're done, mute yourself back, just to avoid background noise. If we have a couple of barking dogs or stuff like that, it kind of ruins the meeting, and we kind of get lost in it. So just make sure you're doing that. Same rules always: highly professional, highly respectful. Talk as much as you like. Use your opinions. We want healthy dialogue. Nothing wrong with that, but just stay professional. We're going to go over some elevator screens. And on the last Zoom meeting with the coaches and referees, we talked about screening: regular off-ball screens, on-ball screens, dribble handoffs, blind screens, but we never did touch on elevator screens. So we're going to touch on that for the first segment. Go over a couple of examples, talk through them, how we need to officiate them, and then we're going to get into freedom of movement off the basketball. We always talk about freedom of movement with the ball handler, dribbler. We're going to be talking about cutters, how we need to referee those type of plays, and I'll get the rules and that type of thing. All right. We don't see it a lot, I'll be honest, because I tried to find I went through probably 6 games today trying to find freedom of movement cutters. I went with Wagner, I went with Warren, I even went with McCullum, I went with Lanier, Harlendale. I try to find teams that I felt that do a lot of off-ball movement, a lot of screening, a lot of motion action, and that possibly would hold and grab. I just couldn't find that much. So I don't know if it's their coaches are doing a great job of teaching them, or we're just not seeing it enough, or I just had the wrong film. So I had to get into some NCAA stuff, which is fine. It's still basketball. We understand that the rules may be a little different, but as far as coverage and everything, we're going to strictly talk high school rules on that. So that's going to be our topic today. Again, first off, let's get into elevator screens. You should be able to see my screen. I just got to move this real quick. Give me a couple of seconds. All right, move this. Okay. All right. So first, I did want to go over what an elevator screen is. All right. Again, it may be a little choppy depending on your connection, so I will go through it twice live and then go slow-mo. Obviously, elevator screens typically happen at the elbow areas. They close the gap. Sometimes they can happen where they shoot to the corner, but most of the times you're going to see it where a offensive player comes up and then 2 screeners are going to close the gap. That's why we call it elevator. So I'm just going to show an example. We're not even going to get into an opinion on this as far as if it's a foul, not a foul, good, no call, whatever. I believe this one is nothing. I think it's just a good example of an elevator screen, because I know some of you on here may not know what it is. So I want to make sure that we do before we start touching on it. All right, so here we go. Apologies. Again, hopefully it's not too choppy, but you see it right here, Steph Curry, elevator screen. He gets off a 3. All right, we'll do it again. And just watch Curry here, and then the elbow action. You got 2 screens, David Lee, and I'm not sure it's Draymond Green or somebody, and they just close it. I'll go here and go slow-mo again, because it may be a little choppy for some of you guys. So here's a screen in action. There's Curry, screen 1, screen 2, and they're basically just closing that window, not allowing the defensive player to come through. He gets a wide open shot. All right. Any questions? Just do a chat. Just show me if you didn't get it, but don't really want to go into too much dialogue. That just an example of that. Okay. All right. So let's get into clip 1. This is a women's college game, but again, we're strictly talking high school mechanics. I'm gonna take off the sound. Again, I'll show it twice, and then we'll get into 2 slow-mos and then questions. Any concerns, what you have, opinions, all that stuff. Okay, it happens pretty fast, okay, right around the elbow area. Here, closes, boom. One more time, I'll do slow. These 2 will be slow. Okay, right at the elbow, there's the elevator screen right there, similar to the NBA one. And then the girl that sets the screen ends up on her back. Okay, one more time. We'll talk coverage and all that stuff here in a little bit, because coverage is incorrect. Boom, closes. Okay. Again, I promote everybody to talk, but it always seems to be the same people, right? So if you're known to talk quite a bit, nothing wrong with it, but I would like to open it to others first, just to give their opinion, and then we can press on that way. So unmute yourself. Any questions, or you want to take it, and we'll go that way.
Looks like the offensive player on this side is throwing, you know, a forearm shiver into the defensive player right there at number 3. It looks like is just she's sticking herself out to the right. She's not even. I don't think she doesn't look like she's set.
Okay, so you have an illegal screen on black 3.
That's what I got right from this angle. I don't have a real good angle because all of our pictures are. I guess I could minimize our ourselves here, but
yeah, if you make it full screen on yours, and all you'll see is just the full screen will be you. Yeah, or at the top right, it'll be a little box saying full screen.
I got it.
Okay. Have you been doing that the whole time, Brad? Having a little screen?
Well, just a little screen on the right side with the people that are in the conversation.
Got you. Okay. Anybody else? Does anyone have anything different? So Brad has a legal screen saying 3 is not set and going into the defensive player. Anybody have anything different on this?
One thing I got on that illegal screen is that there's no time to react as far as to avoid the screen.
You say time, so we're talking time and distance, right?
Correct.
Right. So and I'll touch on it real quick, and then Reggie, you can go next. So we discussed on the last one about a moving opponent. So this would be considered a moving opponent, right? We're screening a moving opponent, which is this girl that is trailing the play. So then different rules apply into that. So again, I'm a big rules guy. Want to make sure that we're getting everything correct on this. So when we go here, we go to Article 5 on our screening. And if you weren't on our last Zoom meeting, there is actually 8 articles on screening. I'm not going to go through every one, but I highly recommend all of you to go look at that. It's in Section 4, Definitions 40 under Screen. But we get into Article 5, when screening a moving opponent, the screener must allow the opponent time and distance to avoid the contact. So they have to give them time and distance to either stop and then make a decision, or if they don't want to stop, then make a change of direction. And the biggest thing is the speed of the player to be screened will determine screener may take his or her stationary position. So then we get into the position will vary maybe to 1 or 2 normal steps or strides from the opponent. And that's going to determine how fast they're going. Obviously, the faster they're going, you're going to give them more strides, which would be 2. If it's not as fast, a little slower, then we're looking into 1. But you have to give them 1 to 2 normal strides in that. So if we take that definition into this play, then I agree with Brad and Mike. I think we can all agree if we take the rule. Again, I've said this every Zoom meeting. If we understand rules, it can really help us with our judgment. So this is a moving opponent, have to give time and distance for her to either stop or change direction. And as we can see, 3 does not do that. They're not set, they're impeding, they're moving, and does not give them time and distance on that. I'm going to get into coverage here in a little bit because our coverage is bad. But Reggie, go ahead. I know you said in the chat. What do you want to add to it?
Keep going. You already did it.
Okay. All right. So let's talk coverage on this. All right. So it's a inbounds play. That's number 1. This is where we've talked about it on free throws. Inbounds play is when we're not highly focused when we should be, right? Yes, it's a live ball, but all the players are still. This is when we need to be highly focused even prior to the ball coming in. All right. So the ball comes in. We're going high school mechanics. Let's just look at our trail. Our trail right away is 1, totally out of position. They need to be at the 28-foot line, and they should be closer to the sideline. We don't want to be this far on the floor, especially he's even inside the volleyball line. This isn't a 2-person game. If the ball's on the other side, it's a 3-person mechanics. So we need to be closer to the sideline at the 28-foot line. He would be closer to this coach over here. I don't have it's kind of a close angle, but one, he needs to be wider and then closer 28-foot line. Okay. When the play comes in, this is women's college. So this is her primary. Let's take that away, right? This needs to be Trail's primary. So what would happen is when the ball comes in, they chop. Trail needs to have this matchup. It's a 1-on-1 matchup. Lead needs to get off this. Look at Lead's matchup. This would be Lead's matchup. Lead, this player is running through here. We end up having 2 sets of eyes on 2 players. 4 eyes on 2 players. Anytime we have that, we're putting our other official in a bad situation. So we have 8 players over here. Here's the action. This isn't that competitive. may have 6 feet would have a closely guarded count, but here's the action right here. Everything, we have 8 players inside the paint. So lead needs to get into here, and then center needs to get over here. What we do is we end up leaving center with 8 players to referee in the paint. It's not good, right? That's one, mechanically is just bad. The system is all out of the place. Again, trail would be wider here. This would be their matchup. They would be on here. Lead would be off. What happens is they get the play right. Center does a great job. Center comes and has all the information. I can't even see if I can see center over there. You can't see center over there, okay? But I do have it on a later one. They have a replay. Does a really good job of moving on the floor and then anticipating this play. We talked about screening. Positioning was number 1. Got to be in great position. So obviously trail can't help. Lead's not helping. So center's all by themselves. Center is in great position to know this. Understanding the rules of screening. So the rules of screening, we just went over them. So understanding that this is an elevator screen, we got to have time and distance, which they don't. So that's number 2. And then number 3 would be anticipating the play, which they do. They anticipate it and they get the play right. Coverage is bad though. Lead can definitely help on this play. So for instance, trail would be here. This would be their primary. When this screen comes up, lead would follow this player all the way through and can assist. If they would be probably at home, I don't think you got to get to close down because you want to mirror the ball a little bit. So you'd probably be here, but your eyes would be in this area and you could help. You could see the lateral movement, or I think it's 1 or 3, the girl in black. You could help on that. So we could typically have a double whistle from lead and center because trail's primaries over here. So coverage is bad. That's how coverage should be on this play, especially when we've talked about screening action, multiple players. We need to get 4 sets of eyes on screening actions. And this is an elevator screen involving multiple players. So multiple screening actions, then we need more eyes on that play. This would be a 2 referee play with lead and center. I'm looking at some chats. Anybody else jump in and add to it? Anything else that you'd like to add?
If I can, Mark.
Yes, go ahead, Reggie.
Hey, take it one step further on coverage for trail and center, because this is a trail and a center play. If the trail was in a proper position, in my opinion, trail should be taking the when it's multiple screeners, trail should take the screener that's nearest to him or her, and center should take the screener that's nearer to him or her. So the trail would have number 3, and the center would have, I don't know the player's number, but the player that is on the
Right
weak side elbow of the free throw line. If we have, we're going to stay with the 2 sets of eyes, but if we can cue on the nearest offensive player screening, then I think we have better coverage on that.
Reggie, to clarify, I'm gonna make this a little bigger. So you're saying that lead would stay on this play right here, and trail would take the first screener?
No.
You're saying
no.
lead would take this one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but what I'm saying is once the screen action is made, okay, lead is going to have that top screen, right? Trail is, I know this is women's mechanics, right?
Yeah, go high school. Yeah,
And
go high school.
And trail is going to have the ball handler, right? But the number 3, lead is going to have number 3, center is going to have whatever that, yes.
Yes, got you.
So we can't take both when there's multiple screeners. We can't take both screeners. It's best that we take the nearest screener to our side.
Good point. Anybody else?
The only thing I'd like to add is that if we're not connected with the play, plays like these kind of surprise if you're not watching the whole play, and someone would come and think that it's a push on white or going through the screen because they didn't see the whole action.
Yep, that's a good point. Yeah, because if you get the tail end, number 3's on her back, and then if you would guess on this play, then we're gonna guess that she got ran over, but she was illegal. So again, really good point. If you can pick it up early and anticipate it, then you'd get the play right. Yeah, if you definitely catch it late, would absolutely 100% gonna get this play wrong, because if the girl's on her back, I don't think if you guessed you're gonna, an educated would guess, be like, well, she got ran over, we're gonna have a foul on the other girl. So that's a good point. Anybody else on this clip?
Yeah. How y'all doing?
What's up, Mark?
It's very rare this play is legal and I put it in the chat, at any other level than the NBA because we are more attentive to screens and very rare is the screener ever set on this play. I call it closing the gate. And they're always, most of the time, closing the gate and contact occurs when the gate closes. The lead on this play probably should have nothing on it because they have back. There's no way that they can see between players. So it's really Trail and C's play. Like you say, if they took an educated guess from lead, all they would see would be the result, which is 20 feet away. Is three ended up on her back. So, like I said, in most games, that elevated play or the elevated screen is hard to accomplish because the players never really get set that close the gate. That's all I have.
Good point. Thanks, Marshall. Anybody else? All right, I'm gonna put. All right, Coach Marcus. I'm gonna put. Do you run this elevator screen with your guys?
We have. I try to change how we incorporate it so teams don't become privy to it. So last year we ran it a little differently than this year. This year we did one where the ball's way on the opposite side. There's another action that happens before the elevator screen happens, and so we try to give our guys enough time to set up, so that way we don't get called for any silly stuff. So that's helped us, and then obviously listening to this just reinforces what we've been telling them on this particular way. I thought the way we ran it last year, we're cutting it a little too close. It get called sometimes it didn't get called. The way we ran it this year, it did allow our guys more time at the elbows to, and really it was just one guy that was moving to like Marshall said, to close that gate. Let that player get set so that way it's pretty obvious. And to be honest with you, when we ran it, it wasn't even for that option. That was just, if it was there, we would take it. But it was just another part of a moving offense that we run. And so if we had the shot, it was no big deal. So we weren't in a hurry to really try to close that gate too terribly crazy. We didn't want to pick up any offensive silly fouls.
Appreciate the insight. Consistency. I don't see it a lot in San Antonio. Maybe you've seen it more with other teams. One, do you see it more in San Antonio? And if you do, how consistent do you feel we are, officials getting those plays right?
Like I said, like last year when we ran it, it was 50-50. And it was hard to tell the difference in how we were doing it. So I just thought maybe our timing was a little too quick with it. So talking to my assistants, we just try to find a way to make it a little more obvious that we were getting set in that situation to prevent a call from happening. Like I said, it was about a 50-50. It was going to get called last year. This year, I don't think it got called on us at all when we ran it. That's a kudos to you guys being consistent, and then to us, I guess, kind of preaching how to time it a little better.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do. That's why we, have you guys, coaches on here to help us, and us also help you with rules, because I know some coaches know rules and some don't. So I know we've had 4 or 5 Zoom meetings with other coaches, and a lot of them, I didn't know that rule. That only helps you guys go and reinforce it at practice, and then obviously makes everybody's job easier.
My assistant coach, he used to be a part of the chapter a few years ago before he got into coaching. So it helps a lot having him on staff.
There you go.
Coach, hey, if we run this, what are they going to be looking for so we don't pick this up or that up? And so that's pretty useful on our end. But I appreciate you guys letting us hop on.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, good stuff. All right, let's get into play 2. Okay, so this happens. This happens most of the time, not always, but it happens where we have now a shot and we have a push through the screen. So it's going to be. I don't want to get too much into the play because that's what happens. That's it. It's pretty obvious that elevator screen comes. There's a lot of time and distance on this. What I do want to get into is how are we going to adjudicate this play in high school? So I'm going to run it twice, go through it twice, and then again, somebody new, please. How would you adjudicate this They do have a triple whistle. We'll get into that later. But that's question number one: is how are we going to adjudicate this play after it's all said and done? Hold on, sorry. All right, twice. It's almost identical play. So Kawhi's trailing him a lot of space. Bam. Okay, again. Hope he's not lagging, but I'll show it again on the point of contact. Okay, and the ball goes in. All right, again. I'll go 2 slow-mo. So there's Steph Curry coming through the elevator screen. Lots of time and distance. You can see that. Okay. So if we recognize there's a lot of time and distance, that more than likely they'll get there in time, which they do. So this is not an illegal screen. However, what's illegal is the push through on Kawhi. All right, so that's ball goes in. What are we doing? They call a foul, end up having triple whistle. We'll get into that later. But how are we going to adjudicate this play? There's the foul. Let's say the foul's right there. Okay, somebody take it.
Hey, Mike Daniel.
Hey, Mike.
Now, I could be wrong, but from the view on my screen, it was kind of choppy. The ball's not in flight.
Okay.
The point of contact where that whistle should have happened. If there's any confusion, the referees should get together. Ball's not in flight. Contact happens here. There's no shot. The foul is happening first. And so, but the key is, if you have a triple whistle, that means, hey, let's not somebody be a hero. Let's get this right. And so that's just a simple communication amongst the crew. Hey, I got ball in hand. When contact happens, no shot, foul, point of contact spot, report, and then go on from there. But if triple whistles happen with all of that, there's going to have to be a communication and a gathering to figure out, what happened first and where, and just get it right, plain and simple.
Okay, appreciate it. Anybody else? Somebody different? So what Mike has is no shot. We have a foul here, so we're not going to shoot. Ball's not out of the hand, so the foul happened prior to the ball being released. And then we're going to have, I guess, Mike, you want to put it on the end line, or you want to put it where we going? Spot of the foul, where the ball was?
Well, where the foul happens per high school rules is inside our trapezoid, so that's going down. Yeah, that's in line. That's not even sideline. That's inside the trap. That's going in line.
Okay. All right. So that's what Mike's got. No shot. Ball was not released. We got a foul right in the top of that little half circle. The ball's going to be on the end line to the gold team. Anybody else?
Hey, Mark.
Different? Yes, Gene.
Hey, I like look at the 2 referees. You talk about 4 eyes on the ball. That's a good example of it right there.
Yep. Agreed. They actually have 6.
I mean, both of those referees are watching where the action is.
Yep. Agreed. Yep. They actually have 6 because they have a triple whistle, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But absolutely, we've got elevator screens. We need multiple actions. Typically, it's a 2 referee play. But lead has nothing else. So they can definitely assist on this play. And it happened from their primary going up. So this is actually, I'm not a huge fan of triple whistles, and I looked at this play several times today. I actually like a triple whistle on this play. I think Lee could probably be a little more patient, but it's an obvious foul. It's illegal, and all 3 of them have the same foul on this. Great point with Mike. We have a triple whistle. Definitely need to come together and have a conversation what they do. They do a great job of what they do, but just wanted to touch on that. But does anybody have anything different? So good point, Gene. Absolutely. I think the coverage is good. I think they have the referees are on this play. But does anyone have anything different as far as what Mike had? Got some chats up here.
The only thing I had was when you finished running it, I think well, they all had you said there was a 3 whistle, whatever. But Trail looks like he's closer to the play, and I would think, he would have the call because he's closest to it.
Okay. Is anybody scoring? Yeah, I can run it again. Is anybody scoring the basket? That's what I want to know.
I think we have a continuous motion situation here.
Okay.
Foul on defense if we've started habitual throwing motion. The suggestion of the officials coming together, I think, is good. and hopefully that they would make a determination if that player had started their throwing motion. If they had, they're allowed to, that ball's allowed to continue and a potential score.
Jeffrey, thank you. All right, so now we've got two. We're getting into, their shooting motion, and then we're getting into the ball has to be released. So those are the two things we got to get into, okay? So I'll make it simple. Yes.
Hey, Mark.
John, go ahead. John Olsen, go ahead.
Hey, if you go to definitions and you go to definition 11, article 3, and I'll read it to you. It says continuous motion does not apply if the teammate fouls after a player has started a try or tap for a field goal before the ball is in flight. The ball becomes dead immediately. So the initial by Mike.
That's a teammate, though. That's a teammate.
Any team, it says any defensive player.
Oh, I thought you said a teammate.
You read teammates.
I go with what Mike said. There's no continuous motion here. The ball is dead immediately. Anyway,
Right.
That's my input.
We had y'all on a conference call a while ago where we went round and round and round and round.
I knew you were going to do this, Bob. I didn't know you were on. Hi, Bob. Go ahead.
Shot, because it's a defensive foul, if that motion has started, we get to let them finish the motion of the shot. The question of whether it's released only matters if it's an offensive player committing the foul. Continuous motion applies here. This ball goes in, we count the basket, and it's going to be gold ball.
Offensive teammate.
So yeah, to Bob's point, okay, is if the foul is on the defense, then it's going to be on your shooting motion. If the foul is on the offense, the ball has to be out of their hand. For example, say we see it, shot goes up, and then we have a rebound foul. Well, we're going to score the basket, and then we're going to foul. We're going to go out of bounds, or we're going to go to the bonus, depending on that. And this one, the foul's on the defense, so they have to be in their shooting motion, which they are. So we're going to score the basket, and then depending on if we're in the bonus or not, we'll determine what we're going to do. But here we're going to give the ball to gold. That's what we would do. But it would go on the end line. So we score the basket. Again, we had this call. Yes, go ahead.
Who's to say that's not a triple threat position? Especially talking about high school. Now, granted, that's Steph Curry, yes. But if we're talking high school basketball, right? Who's to say that right there, not there, where you just had it, who's to say that's not a triple threat getting ready to reverse the basketball? Now, Steph Curry, I get it. But that play where you had it frozen, that's triple threat position.
Mike,
the foul's right, the foul's right there.
You watch what he does to determine if he's going to reverse the ball, if he's going to shoot it. He continued that motion and shot the ball. There was nothing else. He didn't wait to see a foul or not a foul. He caught it. His motion started. Yes, he could have passed, but he didn't. He shot the ball.
Yep.
So therefore, he gets this shot.
Agreed.
It's the motion that continued to happen as the whistle occurred, so that's what we honored.
Well, like I said initially when I first started, I said it was a little choppy for me, but I'm just, I got you. That's a great point. Especially on points of as far as identifying the offense and defense making the foul. That's right. A great point.
That's what it is. Yeah, absolutely. So offense, we have to determine who's the foul on, and then we get to understand if it's shooting motion or the ball is out of the hand. So we go offense, fouls on offense, ball's got to be out. Fouls on defense, it's shooting motion. Marshall, go ahead. I know you wanted to add something. I got to unmute you. You got to unmute yourself, Marshall.
Hey, Mark, can I add something?
Go ahead.
PJ, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yep.
Let him go ahead, Mike. Let him go, Mark. Yeah, Mark, let him go.
Are you there, Marshall? You want to go, Marshall?
No, go ahead. I'll wait.
Hey, I disagree with the premise that Bob has on that play. I agree with John and Mike Daniels. On either play in high school, this is not going to be a basket that's going to be scored. The foul stops there.
Why though?
I 100% disagree.
Why? We got to find rules. I'm cool with this. This is why we do this. We got to find rules to support it.
Yeah.
Well, does the ball become dead on the whistle?
Okay, but if you're going up for a shot and you get hit, yeah, it's dead, but you're gonna let him finish.
Right. I'm just asking the question. I mean,
Yeah.
this is one of those things where we build culture, which is good,
Yeah.
Mark, and Bob knowing the rules.
Right,
So
but that's what we're confusing here, Marshall, is
go
when
ahead,
that play is
Sadiq.
when that play is fouled, when that player who's shooting the ball is fouled, you have continuous motion. When that play is off ball foul, that continuous motion is null and void. That's all I have.
Can I get in?
I got 2 points, Reggie. Let me jump in real
Oh,
quick.
I'm sorry.
All right. And I don't want to deal with that because I think the rules will clear that up. I just want to get into the two officials, why we ended up with 2 C's and we had 4 eyes on the shooter. If you roll it back, Mark, the original C, the gentleman that's moving closest to us, he does the right thing by staying on the play. So he's being patient. And on the kick out, right, on the kick out, opposite picks up the shooter. So the guy closest to us, he's taking a picture while he's moving. So the best one to handle this play would be the guy on the opposite side because we had a pending rotation here on this play. So I think this is one of those rare occurrences where 4 eyes on the shooter is fine, as opposed to no eyes on the shooter because of the rotation. So I think that's okay, and I think Lead picking that up. Once again, we're back to that guessing situation because all Lead sees is the backup. Who is that?
Why?
Of Black.
Yep.
He can't see between 44 and that player. I think in this case, really the one going out the trail probably should have stayed with the screen and left the guy on the opposite side. But I understand why 4 eyes was on this player. Now, as far as rules, maybe we get to learn something here. So,
all right, here's the rule.
I got it too. I already got it. I got it. Hold on.
Go ahead, then. Go ahead, Mark.
I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna pull it up. Okay. I should have had it earlier.
This is going to be a hard sell.
So, Marshall, what you're saying is that the new T would have been better picking. You're saying that he could have picked up that foul. Is that what you're saying? Instead of the C on the opposite side.
Right, because if he'd have stayed with the screen, not worried about the screen and the shooter, but he's so worried about getting out the trail because the rotation occurred. And if he would allow the opposite guy to stay with the shooter, then we'd have had 2 eyes on the play. But you're talking about a lot of mechanics, a lot of system stuff going into play. So
Hey,
what
Mark.
I'm saying, I think there's no reason, there's no problem with 4 eyes being on the shooter in that play. Because
Hey, Mark. And the thing that's key here, and I think this is what Mark is trying to allude to, is one, if you're gonna wipe that basket off, then you better have the knowledge of the defense made the foul, but the shooter was not in his motion yet. If you're gonna go, which in this case the shooter was going into his motion, like Bob pointed out, the rule is the defense happened. The key is knowing and being able to explain whichever way you go in this situation when y'all come together. The key is being able to explain why, and it's on the screen now. So yeah.
Yeah, if you don't mind me jumping about the rule thing, whatever the rule is, and this is the whole purpose of this Zoom thing, I think from Mark's perspective, is that we build a culture and we know what the rule is and we expand on it. So we become consistent from game to game. So I'm learning here, if this is, we should score the basket, then from what I've dealt with in the past, it's a hard sell because if we're honest with everybody would say, oh, he didn't get the shot off before the whistle. But if the rule states we have a way out, then we all need to become aware of the rule and say, hey, by rule, he's in the shooting motion. It's not the offensive player like Bob was alluding to. So go ahead with your rule, Mark.
I got a case. So I have a case 6-7C. Bob, you have a rule, or do you? I like to go to cases because it just gives it right. So this is the same.
Yeah, I've got the rule. I mean, if you look, the rule book is 411 Article 2.
Okay.
And
So
that's
411.
Go to the rule book, Mark. Go to the rule book.
Article 2.
I'll go to the rule book and then I'm gonna go to the case because the case plays right there on the screen, right here. So 411-2, right? Actually, I looked at that one too.
Yep.
Yeah. So if an opponent fouls after a player has started a tap or try for a field goal, he or she is permitted to complete the customary arm movement. And if a pivot or step in when foul, may complete the usual foot or body movement in an activity while holding the ball. These privileges are granted only when the usual throwing motion has started before the foul occurs and before the ball is in flight. And here on 6-7C, it says the ball would ordinarily become dead at once, but it remains live if the foul is by the defense. It's right there. It's right there. When it would, they said it would ordinarily become dead. That's what John and Olsen was saying, and some others, PJ. But it remains live if the foul is by the defense. So both of those, I believe, are going to cover that situation right there.
I think you're right, Mark. As a matter of fact, I know you're right. Usually we see this play, like Bob mentioned, the drive to the hole, the hit on the arm, and we let them finish. That's the play, we're so used to seeing.
Right.
The outside play, we're saying, oh, he didn't get the shot off, the ball is dead. But according to this rule, the way y'all are reading it, being that he's in the shooting motion, just like a guy going to the hole, he gets to finish the play. So I think we need to put this in our toolbox, and as a chapter, let's make sure we all call it the same way.
If I may.
Reggie, go ahead.
I know you was trying to.
Okay, I don't care about continuous motion because I already know what it is. My question is, and this is to the group, is let's have the same play. Let's put it at the end of a quarter, and you have a foul on the defense. The offensive player is in the shooting motion, and the horn sounds prior to the release. What do we have?
He already read the rule where it says it has to be released if it's the end of the quarter. It has to be released before time.
Oh, I didn't hear that, ma'am. I'm sorry. I didn't hear that.
No worries. I'm just saying
Yeah.
it was on the screen. That's all.
Yeah.
You're right. To point out.
Good point, though, Reggie.
Yeah.
We will confuse that.
All right, good. That's why we do this. To Marshall's point, this is why we do this, right? Okay.
Mark,
yes.
Before we get off this topic, let me ask a question. So let's just say that hypothetically it was the first situation that we had where it was the offensive player that created the foul instead of the defense, and the shot when, let's just say the shot went off, and then the offensive player created the foul, like in the first segment that we saw.
Mm-hmm.
That shot still counts as good, and then we have a foul, or no?
Yes, the ball has, but if the offense fouls, the ball has to be out of their hand.
Right.
So if the ball's out, yes, you're going to score the basket, whatever it is, a 2 or 3, and then we're going to adjudicate the foul like we did anyway. And if they're in the bonus, they're going to go shoot free throws down the other end. If they're not, they go to spot of the foul, give them the ball at the right spot.
Mark, I just want to say this piece. Communication. No need to be heroes. Come together, talk about it, adjudicate it properly. That's the main thing in a play like this.
Can I address that real quick, what Mike just said?
Yeah, go ahead, Kenny.
So it doesn't have to be, again, when we talk about, we don't need the conference on that play. I can just bring information to my partner. Hey, did you have that in his hands? My partner may say yes or no, then we move on. It could be as simple as doing that rather than this big, long conference. Then it looks like we're not really sure about what we're doing. Just bring brief, concise information and to whoever's going to be the calling official. And so we can agree and keep moving.
Hey, Kenny, that's a great point. A lot of times if we come together too much, we lose credibility as a crew. As soon as you come together, the indecisiveness goes into the coaches' minds, the players' minds, and the fans' minds. So if we can get that done, and like somebody mentioned, not be the hero, if we just accept that information and move forward, we look a lot better as a crew.
Yeah.
Because what ends up the delays, and the more we delay and the more we discuss, the less believable we become. Hey, Mark, can you just mention again, if Reggie missed it, I'm sure other people missed it. So can you mention that last second situation so everybody can hear it?
Hey, Mark, before you do that, Marshall, I'd like to add on to that, what you're saying, and Kenny also. As you're walking by, if you know that the shot should count, as you're rotating, you can also just tell your partner, bucket went in. You're not telling them bucket good. You're just saying basket went in if you want it or whatever, and then your partner will know what he's going to adjudicate.
Okay, so I want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. We're saying that a foul happens and then they shoot the ball after the foul. Is that what we're talking about? And the ball's dead. We're not going to have continuous motion. Is that what we're saying? I'm confused on the question.
Yeah, at the end of the quarter, it's a different situation.
Yeah, because the clock's expired,
when
right?
the reading of zeros occurs, or the horn and the ball is in the hand, You cannot count the basket.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a case play where kid shoots the ball at the end of the quarter. They shoot the ball, they come back to the floor, players, it's expired, and then we have a run, like a foul, a run over. Boom, flatten them. And we discussed that it's nothing. Unless it's intentional or technical, then you have nothing and you go to the end of the quarter. A lot of referees had some, they said, well, it's a foul. And you know, and oh, you got to let him return to the floor. But the horn has expired. So if you have a foul after the horn, if it's not intentional or technical, it's the end of the quarter. So I think it's the same thing, right? The same thing we're talking about?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Good discussion. Good. Let's get into freedom of movement. All right. Again, this
Can
is
I ask you a question?
yeah,
On that,
Marcus. Yeah, go ahead.
is that the 10th defensive foul? Does that mean the shooting offensive team is shooting 2 free throws?
Say it again. Sorry.
If that is the 10th team foul on the defense.
Yes.
As a result, you get 3 points, and then the offense is shooting 2 free throws.
Correct. Yeah, we're pointing around to double bonus. Correct.
All right.
Yeah, good question. Good question. All right.
And the ball.
So, all right. So we're going to get into freedom of movement, and this is going to be off the ball. Again, it was hard for me to find clips. The first clip actually is one. We see this a lot on. We talked to coaches last week. We see it a lot on out of bounds plays, cross screens, seals. You know, multiple screen actions. We're seeing that either defense is holding or offense is illegal. But we're going to get into the defensive aspect of allowing freedom of movement with cutters. If they're going to set a screen, we need to give them freedom of movement to that. So I'll get into guarding here in a little bit as down here, but let's just go through some plays. And I think we need to be, we don't see it as a whole lot. It's a lot more to college level, and they do call a lot more to college level, but just some things to think about when we get back into the season about how we need to be refereeing these types of plays, okay? I'll show it twice, usual deal. Let me move this. Okay, sound off. Hope it don't glitch too bad. So we're gonna go 21 is trying to screen across for their teammate over here, and we're gonna watch the big kid right here for black, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna show it again. I'm gonna give you a little information on this, what they're trying to get out of it, because they run this a lot. Okay, one more time. So what they're trying to do, they run this play a lot, right, for Johnson, is he sets a screen and it's a lob to the rim. So they're going to throw it right over. His kid's super athletic and long. That's what they're trying to get out of it. So let's see what this defender does. Does it affect 21's natural movement to be able to go across, set a good screen, and be able to get that? I mean, it totally disrupts this play. So I'm going to go slow-mo on it. And look what they get out of this play. Now they're catching the ball, not at the rim, catching the ball all the way back here, 20 plus feet from the basket. All right. I want to show the point of contact. Anybody else can take it. My personal opinion is a foul. This is a foul, not allowing freedom of movement for 21 to get to where you want to get to. Again, kids are slick. They'll show their arms, right? He shows his arms like, I'm good. I'm doing everything here. The point of contact is when he goes is right there. Let's just say this is a ball handler dribbler. That would be 2 hands on a ball handler dribbler, rerouting, impeding them to their spot. There's no difference when they don't have the basketball. It's the same principles as guarding, okay? Again, right here, boom. All right, so anybody take it? Coverage, agree, disagree, any feedback? Somebody new. We got 54 of you on here.
Hey, Mark. It's Josh. I'll take it.
Hey, Josh. Thank you for stepping up.
All right. So I do have a holding foul on 44. And I think personally from this camera angle, it looks like Trail would be the one that has the best look on it. But he could be looking in the corner because that should be his primary. But Trail has an open look at it. Holding foul on 44, report it to the table, and then throw it at the same spot.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate you for doing it. Anybody else? Anything different? So we got Trail, open look, whistle comes from Trail. Anybody got anything different?
Hey, Mark.
George, go ahead.
Hey, Mark. I'm trying to figure out why is the lead backing out as far as he's going. instead of maybe going maybe one or 2 feet on the side of the thrower end so that he can see what's going on. That's where the action is. Those 2 guys on the outside, there's nothing going on there.
Good point.
I agree, George, but his eyes look like he is looking at 21 and the movement. I think the call could have came from him, but it might have been because he was backing out. You're right.
Hey, Josh.
Yes.
Okay, I want you to look at this play one more time, and then factor in where this off-ball play is opening up to, and then tell me who has the coverage. Run it again, Mark.
Will do.
Who has the coverage, Mark? Josh?
Center, maybe.
There you go. You got to always factor in who the play is opening up to. It's leaving trail and opening up to center. So when you always have that in effect, you always want to cue into who the play is opening up to.
Yeah, I thought it could be center, but I thought maybe not because center's looking through those 2 players to the left of the basket as well. So I thought he might not have a good look at that.
What'd you say, Mark?
I don't have a good sense of who the trail is looking at on this play. His play just left him, in my opinion.
I don't think his trail's played neither, Kenny. If you look at where the point of contact occurs, it's in C. If C was more on the floor, this is an opportunity for C to come on the floor a little bit, like 2 steps on to be more engaged. It's going away from trail. And I'm going to say by rule, this is a foul, and I'm going to leave it there. All I'm going to say is if you call that foul, you have to be consistent through the rest of the game. And that has to be a foul that you're going to call the rest.
Marshall, I was thinking it was Trail's play.
Well, if you look at
look at the arm, because I see
Kenny,
Yeah,
look at the arm.
I see the arm. Yes. Yeah, the first movement of his arm.
That movement
away.
right there is illegal. That right there is starting the illegal move. Because you're not
right. Now watch that right arm.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what, Trail?
So
see if they want to call it. And I think they just choose not to call the foul, to be honest. Knowing, and maybe I'm giving you too much info, but by rule it's a foul. But I'm just saying if you're going to call that foul, because if you look at what 21 does, and it's probably because he's being held by a bigger guy, he makes no attempt towards the basket. And the screen is for 22 for the alley-oop.
He's trying to set his cross screen, right? He's just not able to.
For 22 for the alley-oop. So 21 really has the play is not intended for him to receive the ball.
But guys, if we're going to talk
22, not
about
21.
seeing daylight, the trail is only seeing backs right there.
That's what I was looking at first, Tony.
Yeah.
But you can see him grab like Kenny was saying.
No, yeah, I agree. But who has the best look? Looks like Lead has the best look if he's looking directly at that play.
If C is on the floor and anticipating this play, mostly out of bounds plays with too low block, they usually go to screen for each other. It looks like he's looking at the corner.
But you have to remember, the C still has his coverage, right? So where I think the system breaks down here is we are not ready to referee as soon as that ball comes in. That's where the breakdown happens.
I agree 100% with you, unless he chooses not to call it.
Yes, good point.
And he just chooses not to call it.
Agreed.
Could we say that Trail might have been able to be maybe a step on the court to be able to see that a little bit better?
I think Trail can see it.
I agree. Trail's good. Yeah, I agree.
He can see it. It's his choice. He chooses it. He chooses either to pass or call a foul, and he chooses to pass.
So I have a question.
Yes,
if 21 had the ball and curls around the same way, who would have that as well?
Center.
I'll let somebody jump in.
Yeah, it would be center. The way I look at this, again, I was in the game, right? I agree with multiple people. I believe when I first saw this, that's Trail right there. Trail can see the first illegal action is here. Lead cannot see that. It's on this side. Then when you get into the second bump, then it's coming towards center. So I truly believe center is definitely disengaged, need to be 2 foot on the floor to Marshall's point. Absolutely. When we're that far off the floor, we're very reluctant to make this call all the way in the paint or close to the other lane line. So first illegal action is trail, and then it gets in here. Center needs to get that there. I don't think lead has a great look on that, because everything happens on this side, happens on trail side, and then ends up curling away. That's how I think the coverage on this. I think everybody kind of got a piece right. It's a foul though, it is, and I don't think we're real consistent on this. And Marshall, I agree. Like maybe we just passed on it just to pass on it because we hadn't been, highly consistent throughout the game. This is in the second half. These need to be called immediately. These are the stuff that sets the tone right away. He's a big, strong kid. And if he's being illegal and you clean that up early, I mean, him just putting his arm on there, 21 has no chance. I mean, it doesn't look like a lot, but that kid is a big, strong kid. And if we allow them to do that early in the game, it's a really huge disadvantage for the offense and the way the game is supposed to be called today. It's freedom of movement. Like I said, if this kid was dribbling the basketball, we're going to have a foul. If he turns and spins and we have, who's that?
Brad.
Go ahead, Brad.
You don't think the lead right there, right at that point, I mean, don't you think the lead can see through both? I mean, has a good line through both those players? Can't see that.
Yeah, possibly.
Can I
I just
jump
think
in on that, Mark?
yeah, go ahead.
Can I jump in on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Roll it back. Okay, if you look right here, okay, if you got back, you have no play. And Frank Fuel has no, he'd have to see through 21 and see the right arm. I think Frank does the right thing by not having a whistle on it. I think the important thing that Mark brought up, especially in today's game, you have to call it early. And it makes it easier in the second half. Plus, if you call it early, you establish the tone. He has a foul or two. He don't want to get that third or fourth foul. And he understands his parameters. But if you try to set parameters in the second half, third and fourth quarter, it's too late.
Agreed.
Hey, Mark.
Because they're going to say, we've been doing this all game and it hasn't been called. But if you call it in the first half, first quarter, you're establishing parameters. That's it.
Hey, Mark, I think Aaron has something on that.
Aaron, go ahead.
No, I got cut off. I'm good. Frank had something though.
Frank, go ahead, Frank.
Hey, I think, and it may have been Marshall that said it, I think may not have been ready to officiate the play before the play began. Because if you go back, and somebody said it, as I handed the ball to number 3 for the inbound, even before I stepped back, and even I think before I gave the ball, 21, as I bounce it, hand it, 21 has already got a hand on the defender, and he's getting ready to move. So I think whoever said it earlier, the point being, be ready to officiate even before we talk about off ball and dead ball. The ball's still dead. Bodies are getting in position or already moving. So I think that may have been something that caught us all off guard, that I just handed the ball, I'm taking a step back, but he's already moving. So there's a so I say, whoever said it earlier, be ready to officiate even before it's time to officiate. That's all I'd add to that.
So I got a comment on that, Mark. Give me a chance.
Yeah, go ahead.
The C on that play, honestly, taking 2 steps on can help a great deal. There's a competitive matchup down here in the left corner, right there on the block, but maybe a step or 2 onto the court is going to be able to help. We already know where this play is going, so I think that might be of some assistance. And even for the trail, we have 10 players in below the free throw line, below the second block, right? So maybe taking a step down. Right now, they're looking at about 20, 22 feet. Taking a step down, you might be able to see that angle to get that look between 21 and whoever that defensive player is. Just, positioning wise, we could be a little bit tighter on this play.
Mm-hmm.
It might help out.
Good point.
Hey, Mark,
like
one last thing on this play. Can I jump in? Don't get so caught up in primaries. I know Kenny mentioned it earlier, who has what area, and Josh mentioned, if you would just, switch when there's nothing in your area going on, there's no players,
there's no competitive matchups, switch your mind to officiating the next competitive matchup and you'll catch this play. So officiate competitive matchups and we'll get more fouls and violations.
Good point. All right, good discussion. Let's get into next clip. Make sure it's again on a replay. Let's see if it does. I think it does. I think it's got a couple of replays on it. Yeah, it does. So we're right here. Watch the elbow, hot spots, right? We talked about this last week. Screening or bumping cutters. Got to have sets of eyes, especially in the hot spots at the elbows. All right, so anybody want to take this? We have a legal act on the player right here. Some of y'all may say it's embellishment or not. Anybody, again, somebody different, take this play. Coverage, opinion, whatever you got.
From what I can see, the defender has legal guarding position. He's authorized that spot, right? He's there. The offensive player runs into him. So I would say, so to me, that's really a no call. I mean, the defenders authorize that position, same thing as the offensive player.
Okay. All right, so Dwayne's got no call. Anybody got anything different?
I disagree with Dwayne. I see him sticking his left arm out in like a chicken wing, trying to impede him. That just looks like it. To me, that's illegal. So I'd have a foul on it, pushing foul or blocking foul.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'll jump in. This is a freedom of movement play. He's entitled to that position on the floor because he's there in black, but lifting of the elbow to impede the young man from cutting can be the foul, and you can also have a flop if you want, but that's not in high school. If you look at C, and Mark, you brought it up, I don't know why he felt he needed to, you look at him, he's viewing trail. So Lee did a good job by having something, but I think C was not refereeing the hot spots, which are the elbows. And that's where a lot of the stuff occurs. So looks like he had no decision on the play because his head was pointed towards the top of the key.
Okay, good points.
Mark.
Brad, go ahead.
Yeah, it looks like he extends his arm too. I mean, even if he has the position there, you could argue that he's good, but once he extends that arm to impede the motion, then it's kind of a no-brainer in my opinion.
Yeah, the way I look at this play is it's yeah, I think the offensive player kind of embellishes and hits a head back, but I don't understand the purpose of what the defender is doing. The defender is clearly looking at that defender, and I wouldn't use the word seek out, but they're definitely going to make contact, right? It's subtle, right? They kind of step in the chicken, but again, it's a big kid. It's unnecessary contact, and all that kid is trying to do is just maybe go back door. Now let's see this. Let's say if this was a back screen for a lob, and we don't have a whistle on that play, guess what happens to the ball? It goes out of bounds. And what we got? Beep, out of bounds. Is that what we got? That's, again, we got to understand situations on this. I agree with Marshall as far as the coverage, but I like lead coming out this far. I think this is the teaching point on this is we can't be afraid at lead to come up to the elbows to get these type of illegal actions, if it's screening, if it's freedom of movement, bumping cutters, those things, because everybody is pretty much above the free throw line extended. This is leads coverage right here. It's not competitive. Everything up here is good. I like that they're wide. I like that they're deep, and they're trying to referee where their partners cannot. So I like that lead comes to get this. This is a play that needs to be got. It's very late in the game, and I bet if we watch the game, they've been highly consistent with this. To the point on the last one, we probably passed on that clip, the last one, because we may not have been consistent throughout the game, and it wouldn't fit. If you've been calling it the way it's supposed to, this definitely fits. If you're calling it a 2-point game with 148, that's how you've been calling the game the entire game. So I like this. I like the referee getting it. I like Lee coming out to get it. And I do honestly believe this is a freedom movement cutter foul on the defense. Anybody else?
Yeah, if you don't mind, this is a classic supervisor clip play where if the scenario occurred like you mentioned, Mark, where if he was going back door to, even for not even a lob, just to receive the pass, and we do an out of bounds play, then you're going to get that clip back and ask, why wasn't that foul called at the elbow? Because he is, if he just stays there because he's entitled to that spot on the floor and allows him into him, then there's no call. But Brad mentioned by him lifting the elbow is the evidence to call the foul. And I would like to see how the players react, because you said it's late in the game. And if they react and accept it, then that means they have been calling it all game. If they don't accept it, then maybe this is where they jumped in late in the game and said, oh, okay, but it is a foul. And looking at the players, they're accepting it. So it looks like they already set those parameters and they understand.
Yep.
Hey, Mark, just got a question. What foul would we call this? Would we call it a block or a push or what?
Yeah, well, if it's displacement, we got to push, right? I know that they got like the bump signal in college, but this would be a push. This would be a push in high school. I wouldn't go block. I would go push. Displacement is pushing. That's what we got. Anybody else have anything different? I just have a push on this.
Hey, Mark.
Good question, though. Good question. Yeah, Chris.
It
Real
is
quick,
a-
though, real quick, though, Chris. Josh, to your point, we're going to go to the spot of the foul, too. So here's the foul. Even though the ball's out here, we're not highly consistent. We're going to go to the spot of the foul. So this is going to be on the baseline. If we had something in the paint and the ball's at half court, we're going to the spot of the foul. That's where we need to bring the ball in. All right, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, so, in high school, yes, it is a block, but it is an illegal screen. So you would punch on the illegal screen, and then you could show a block as a
Chris,
preliminary.
they're on defense, not a legal screen. They're on defense. So it's a push. Let's just keep it simple. It's a push, not a block. It's a defensive foul. It's a push, and boom, we going on the baseline. Not team controls, defensive foul.
Okay, my apologies.
You good?
Hey,
All right,
Mark.
let's get yes. Who we got?
Hey, Mark.
Gene, yes.
I'm just wondering, why would Lee call that far out above the 3-point line?
What else do they have, Gene? That's what we
They
want to
have
get to.
that players down there right at the free throw line standing there. Two players are pushing each other.
This is not competitive. This is way more competitive. So they're wide. Their vision is wide. They understand. If you roll it back, again, this is where we talk about anticipating calls, right? If you look at it, he is walking to the block. There's nothing competitive. He's not trying to seal. He's not trying to post up. The play is here. Everything's coming back to the other side. And that's when we talk about anticipating the play. This is the action. If he was watching here, guess what happens? He misses this. And then we have a no call. And to the point that we said earlier, if that ball does get passed over the top and goes out of bounds, we're going to have incorrect coverage on it. This is where at lead, we have got to be more active and not afraid to come that high. I'm glad you said it, Gene, because a lot of people at lead would not come and get this because they think it's too high. It's out of my primary. But if you really think about it, lead actually has the best look on this play. Center's not really, like to Marshall's point, center was looking at the ball, has a player here, can't see everything. Lead has nothing. Look how big. Lead has the big picture, can see actually all 10 players. That's my opinion.
Go ahead, Rich.
Go ahead. Yep.
Hey, Gene.
Yeah.
The lead is going to be aware of his matchup that's in the paint. Just have an awareness of it. But to Mark's point, he's going to have an awareness of the two in the paint, but he's going to be refereeing the hot spot on the elbow. Does that make sense to you?
Hey, Mark.
Does that make sense?
Mark.
In high school ball, though, it's hard to justify to the coaches why the C or the T didn't call it because they're right in front of the play.
The answer to that question.
Okay, hold on. Stop, Reg. Let's ask a coach. We have two coaches on here.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Call? Yeah, I think it's a great thing for a coach to answer. Would he rather have the call or would he rather have someone else get it?
But coverage-wise, it is their primary.
I was getting ready.
But yeah, but I agree, Aaron. But we got some coaches on here. I agree. Let's use our coaches to answer that question. Coach
I'd
D.
like the coaches.
Coach D, there she is. I'm trying to find you. All right, Coach D.
Sorry, I was late today.
Are you good?
The question was, would we rather have the call?
The outside officials.
Do I rather have the call than not have the call, have it missed?
No, the
Can you
question is
restate the
Correct.
Yeah, I got the question. So the question is so the lead official is the furthest from the play, right? And would you prefer that we have a no call because it's so far, or would you be okay with this official on the baseline coming this far out to get this call? That's the question. Would you be okay with it? Because to Gene's point, is a coach is going to say, why did you come get that when those other two are closer to the plate?
I personally would rather have the call, because in my experience, there's been more, I met more with, that wasn't my area. That wasn't my call. And so that's why I would rather err on the side of someone else, some other official making the call out of his zone or her, whatever y'all call it. That's just me personally. I don't know that it helps in any way.
It's a great
Personally,
point.
I just want the call.
It's a great point, because this is the culture change, right? What we're trying to change is you coaches hearing every game, that's not my area, coach. That's not go ask them. Now, if it's marginal plays, not big plays, then no. But we're talking about obvious illegal plays that is good for the game. This is a foul that we need to get those. So that's definitely something that I hear from coaches all the time. I know a lot of referees hear it. I'm tired of you guys. Even your guy, Coach Keller at Johnson, he says it all the time. Oh, what are you going to tell me, Mark? You're going to tell me that wasn't your area? You weren't close to it, they had a better look. Like, coaches are getting tired of hearing that, because it kind of sounds like an excuse, right? We need to get the plays right. We can't get every play right, but that should be our number one goal, is getting the play right, no matter where it comes from, and then we figure it out later. That's something that we need to do as referees. Of course, we want to get the right referee to get their plays right, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they get stacked, they don't have great looks, and then we always say the referee that's not always the closest actually has the best look. So in this situation, they actually end up having the best look, because everyone else has got a lot of, multiple action screenings, the handoffs, all that stuff up front. Lead has nothing else to get. So, Coach, I appreciate you saying that. I think that most coaches would agree with that. And this is something that we're definitely going to try to do better at.
Can I say one thing to that? That's actually happened to me in a game, and where the official that was farthest away made a call. I could not see it from my end. And I was like, wait, what's the call? What's the call? And the guy that was next to me, the official that was closest to me, I was like, what did he call? I can't even see. Did you see a foul? And he was like, Coach, we got to respect the call or whatever. And I said, 100. I said, can you just ask him? So I think like at a free throw or something, the guy came over and I said, hey, what was that call? I really am curious, because my ankle, I didn't even see contact. And then he explained it to me. Said, oh, Coach, your player grabbed her with the inside hand, and so it was a very similar situation. And I know that there is that fear that coaches are going to be like, oh, it's not even your freaking call. But from this end, it's more of the other way around. And sometimes if I feel like it's not your call, I'm like, oh, they obviously saw something. Can somebody just tell me what you saw, so I can make sure I address it with my player? If that makes
good feedback.
You going to get Coach Alvarado in?
So, Coach?
Yes, sir.
To that question, to that answer, then do you go back and check to verify what he gave you or she gave you?
You mean like on film?
On film, yeah.
Yes.
I don't for the purpose of that, but I see it. When I watch the film, I'll be like, what happened? And then I'm like, oh, shoot. And I'll go back and watch. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. There it is. Okay. So we do, just because we watch a lot of our own film, for teaching purposes of our own kids and for ourselves. And sometimes I've also seen where I've made a stink about a call, and I've watched the film and I'm like, dang, I need to go back and say something to him, because that was actually a really good call. So,
Marshall, go ahead. I know we want to get Coach Alvarado on, but he may say something. Go ahead, Marshall.
Go ahead and get Coach Alvarado first, Mark.
Okay. You want to add to that, Coach?
No, I agree 100% with what she's saying. I'd rather, in that situation, I'd rather you guys help each other out, and maybe someone come out of the area and make the call versus not having the call at all. I know you guys, guys don't always like to do that, but I'd rather the call be made regardless of who's making the call, if it's the right call. And so in this situation, I'd rather just the call be made, just like she said. It was perfectly said. Yeah, 2 quick points. As the coach has mentioned, whenever we use our vocabulary, not my primary or not my call, you're saying you saw the play. That's how they're interpreting, and you decided not to call it because it's saying it's not your play. and we need to kill that. The most important thing in the game is to get plays right, okay? Getting plays right is more important than primary areas. The other thing, as folks were mentioning, actually that would be Lead's primary because it's 2 lanes across from C. So, and if you look at the foul, it actually happens on the outside arm, which is on the side of Lead. So he can clearly see the arm go up. So he has the right to blow. He's wide enough, as always, to see between the players and see the arm come up. So Lead having the whistle on the play, and if it's cadence, it's even better. But it's Lead and C's play. So we have to kill the vocabulary. Is it too far away from me? Depending on the severity of the foul, allows you to extend. And we're a team. So at times it's required that we extend. So Lead having a whistle on that play is no problem.
I appreciate that. And there's been times that even this year where I'd ask an official, like, you know, did you see that? He goes, yeah, well, I saw it. Well, how come you didn't call it? Well, you're going to have to ask that guy why he didn't call it. And so it's kind of confusing, you know, to a coach to hear those kinds of things sometimes. It doesn't happen often, but when it does happen, you know, it's a little confusing.
You're
Can I just add, I'm sorry, I know this is getting beat in the ground, but just a great opportunity, I think, to say this. The one thing on the flip side of that, when an official misses a call, it is so nice and refreshing. We said, Coach, that's my fault. I missed that, man. And I'm like, okay, I'm just checking. And by the same token, I know that y'all feel that way about us. I've had an official say to me, Coach, like, not in a disrespectful manner, but he was like, hey, maybe you want to focus on if you do more focusing on your kids and less on me, y'all might be doing something. Here's the thing, I'm a real one. So I'm like, oh, dang, you're right. That's my fault. So I appreciate just talk to me. You know what I mean? And instead of it being this big, it's not my area, Coach, back up. And I'm like, dude, I was just asking for the call. So even if it's something I don't want to hear, I appreciate you just letting me know. And it doesn't have to be a long conversation, just in passing. So I'm done.
Yeah.
Hey,
Mark, this is Coach Shui. I was going to say something, kind of what the other two coaches have been saying also. At the end of the day, we just want the call to be right. It doesn't matter who has the call, who doesn't have the call. We just want the call to be right. Now, are the parents going to complain about it? Yeah, but we don't care about that. And, you know, like Coach D said, you know, I appreciate authenticity. And I think it may have even been you this season where a call was missed and you were like, Coach, I didn't see it. I don't know if it was you or not. I don't remember. But you agreed that whoever it was agreed that it should have been called, but, you know, it was missed. And I, for one, I appreciate sincerity, because what can you do to argue that? You know, you missed a call, you missed a call.
Hey, Mark.
Brad, go ahead.
Yeah, Brad Ward. You know, I may be speaking out of turn here, but what I'm hearing from the coaches is that they want the call to be right. And I think that what we need to do as officials is we need, as that first Zoom meeting we had with the NBA official that was really good. He said, you know, if another fellow official makes a call that was technically in his primary, but he didn't make it, he goes up to that official and say, hey, thanks for getting that call. Mm-hmm. And I think as officials, we got to leave our egos at the door, and we got to, instead of coming together at halftime and saying, hey, why'd you make that call? We need to say, hey, thanks for making that call. I'm not talking about a traveling call that's 45 feet away in front of your partner. I'm not going to make that call because I shouldn't even be looking there. But a foul call that's like this we're talking about, we got to get that call because we got to get it right, and we got to get it right for the teams and the coaches and the players.
Agreed.
Change we're after, Bradley.
Yep.
To add what you're saying, when somebody comes and asks you, why'd you call that? That's the insecurity in them. Because, like I said, you felt enough to blow the whistle, then you felt enough that, hey, it needed to be called. And as officials, and this is why they're the best in the world, they take the position of, oh, you must have seen something that I didn't see, or thank you. Because at the end of the day, the official that blew the whistle is the one that's accountable whether that play was called or not. The non-calling official, if it's a foul, they're going to ask him, why didn't you have a whistle? So the option that they take is that the other official did not see the play, and it was egregious enough that the whistle needed to be put on the play.
Hey, Mark, one last point on that. I know we're beating it to death, but just to reiterate, in San Antonio, you have a lot of small ball. So a lot of teams are running 5 out. A lot of teams are running horn sets. They're running 4 cross at the elbows and things of that nature. So you're going to have to extend your primary coverage areas to pick up those competitive matchups.
Agreed. Yep. What I did, actually, just a real quick story before we get into the next clip, is when I actually watch NBA games, if I get to go to the Spurs or watch it on TV, I wait for, they don't happen very often, but when a referee calls out a primary, may get 1 or 2 a game. You should, all the referees on here should watch what the officials do. It's like nothing happened. They grab the ball, they press on. What I think we need to do better at referees is stop with the eye contact, the huh. I'm bad at it. Trust me, I'm terrible. Like if I don't like a call, I immediately want to make a face or look at somebody. To Brad's point, I agree. It's the culture change that we have to do is like, okay, the first thing I should think is that referee saw something I didn't. That's number one. Maybe they did get the play right and I had a different look than them, thanking them or things like that. But I think that's something that we need to get away from. It's more just being more professional, right? But having healthy dialogue. But I noticed that with NBA referees that when a call is made out of primary, it's like nothing happened. They grab the ball, they press on, they move, no eye contact, no this, that, they just move on. I think that's something that we can do. We see it more often as well. We see it more that we have officials that call it a little bit out of primary more. Just something that we can do a little better, okay? All right, let's get into the next clip. Sorry about my kids. Okay. It's lagging. Here we go. Okay, so I'll do it one more time. We got like a little flex cut coming on the baseline. They do one slow-mo, so here. I'll show it again. So we're looking right here. Okay. Somebody new, take it. Like the call, don't like the call, correct referee, what we doing, where we bring the ball in, those type things, okay? And there's a lot on here. I will start calling people out who stay quiet all the time. All right, I want to give this one to Becca or Aaron or Diana, any of y'all. So one of y'all take this clip and tell me to stop, start, and kind of run us through it. Anybody agree it's a foul? Anybody coming here and like the foul, don't like the foul in the chat? Anything? That's the point of contact right here.
It's like super choppy, dude.
It is?
For me, it is. And don't say nothing about my internet. I got Google Fiber.
You ain't got Boost?
Mark, are we talking about the matchup right here in front of the C? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, the reroute.
Right here. Yeah, it's the player coming on the baseline. 22 is trying to come off this screen, and there it is right there. Okay, I look at it. Take the principles of ball handler dribbler. That is a arm that does what? It stays on. It's extended and it stays on. So if we had a ball handler dribbler and that hand would stay on, are we gonna have a whistle?
Can you just run it one more time, Mark?
Sure. Yeah, I'll do it because it has a little slower one too. So I'll go here.
So Mark, are they calling a hold?
Yeah.
Diana's gonna run you through it. Let her run you through it.
You won't see what he signals, but he has a defensive foul. That's what he has. A defensive foul, or a reroute, a hold, a push, whatever.
Oh, okay.
So that it's the one coming off the baseline. So it's 22 right here, black 22, and the foul is on the gray, the player in gray. This one right here, that's who the foul is on, and that's where we're at. All right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get into guarding. All right. Go ahead.
I agree. I mean, I think he's holding. He's affecting his path, and so that's why I would call a hold. If you look at him trying to cut, he's displacing him with his left elbow. So I would have a foul.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Because, you know, some may say 22 is holding right here. You see, 22 is grabbing first. They're kind of tugging at each other. Is he just swimming, trying to get around? You know, I'm just trying to open up a conversation here. Do we
Can I
allow
get in?
22? Go ahead, Reg.
I think he just hold. Well, okay. Go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go, Dana. Go ahead. Finish up.
Well, I mean, I think there is contact, but it's like he gets him and he lets go. Defense doesn't. Defense keeps holding on and trying to place him. That's why I would have a foul in defense.
Good point.
So the initiation of the play, both players have mutual contact. Both players engage each other. Once the player starts his move lateral, go ahead and move it, Mark. Right here, right there. Once he starts going lateral and the defender's arm moves away from his body and stays with him, that's where the foul occurs. And that's the same. I know that's what you said, Dana, but I wanted to just emphasize.
Clean it up for me, man. I think what this speaks to also is that, again, going back to what we've been talking about with like Eric and them, is anticipation. If you're quick on that, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to call it on offense because of the quick, you know. But I think if you hold and see, then you'll see the, you know, what happens there. But I think they both kind of initiate contact, and offense kind of does this. But again, he lets go and he's trying to move away, and defense keeps holding him. But I think again, it just speaks to don't just anticipate, you know, and assume. Just kind of watch.
May I, Mark?
Go ahead.
Now, I understand, you know, like Diana's saying about the patience, but at the same time, though, that offensive guard, his initial contact is getting that defender into that screen to get his advantage to break free. So we talk about first contact. I mean, offensive players' forearm, defensive players' forearm. I mean, you really could have a double whistle on both, because that offensive player gets him into his screen so he can break free. Now we're coming and going to get the defense. Whereas the first contact is his forearm in his chest. Just, you know, if we're talking first point of contact.
But what I
see, both
see,
connect at the same time. I don't think it's 22. It's both.
Well, that's why I said. That's why I said double. That's why I said you could go double foul, because both of them have forearms in each other's chest. You call double. You clean it up. Now get open legally.
Gene first, then I got you, Marshall. Go ahead, Gene.
Okay.
real quick, I think the offensive player, he watch his feet. He never goes into the defender. He's going lateral, isn't he? He's not pushing him. He has his arms up, but he's going lateral.
Okay, to answer, okay, so do our feet have to move in order to have a foul on offense?
No.
If he doesn't extend his arms.
Right, yeah, I know you just mentioned his feet. His feet don't have to go in the path. I could be stationary with my feet, and I can extend with, with my forearms. I want to add one thing, and then Marshall, you can jump in. What I see mechanically is, and it's something that we talked about this on look at center's eyes right now. It's on the ball, all right? The ball, and the ball, I don't have it earlier. The ball could have been with him, and he could have dribbled over. I'm not sure. But when that pass is made, remember, we've said, when the pass goes away, what do we need to do? We need to go away. But center continues to stay on the ball. He continues to stay on the ball. Only when this situation where these players start to close, then his vision turns. So he actually gets the tail end of it. So if he'd have picked it up earlier, I don't believe this is an offensive foul in 22. I just think that they're just, both having a hold. I don't see a huge advantage for 22. But however, the referee doesn't even understand the legality of 22 because they're on the ball too much. So as soon as that pass is made, so I'm going to do it right here. When the pass is made here, then his eyes need to shift. And this is what we've been talking about every Zoom meeting is ball away, you're away. So that ball's away, Now his eyes should have gone right to this matchup. There's 4 players over here. Now you got to then multiple action. You've got to find legality of 4 players, 2 offensive players. So we're going to see if 22 holds, hooks, grabs, pushes. You got to find the defender, the primary defender right there. Then we've got a screen coming, and then we possibly could have a help side. We got a lot going on. So if we anticipate that play earlier, get our eyes on it earlier, our accuracy is going to be way higher. I just wanted to touch on that real quick.
Let me just add to that, Mark.
Go ahead, Kenny.
That the trail could help in that play by turning your shoulder, because that will tell the center, I got this play. So we can help our partners get away from the ball by showing them what our shoulders are going to do. He's going into a nice position to see how he's starting to accept that play. So that's good. It's good communication. It's good help. That's how we could be better partners.
Yeah, Kenny, you're right. Trail is talking to C right now with his body language. Mark is absolutely correct. C stayed on the play too long, and so he catches the tail end. I know we're looking at plays standing on their own merit, and I know you mentioned the offensive foul, but if you look at the score and time with 11:22 in the second half, 20-point game, very small D1 school versus high mid-major. And if you call an offensive foul, they're on the road. I hate to factor those things in. I know Kenny doesn't like when I talk about this stuff, but does an offensive foul fit the game? And an offensive foul, if you call an offensive foul in this play, that high point coach is going to go, y'all been doing this to me all game, even though it might have been the first call. I think it's a defensive foul because he's impeding the cutter. That guy's actually a 2-guard. You can tell he's a 2-guard. That big guy's not going to do nothing when he catches the ball at the top of the key, unless he's been knocking down threes all game. So Trail has that play. C should have picked up that matchup and feel for the game and anticipate the next play. You know 22 is looking to cut. So, Kenny, you're right, though. I think the best thing out of this is a case in difference to the first play where we shouldn't have had 2 sets of eyes on 2 players. This is a case where T is talking non-verbally to C, I am on ball. You can get off ball. As opposed to the other play where you ended up with 2 C's looking at Steph Curry come out. So, Mark, great point about C. Probably, if they'd have seen the whole play, they probably could have made a better decision. But actually, like I said, scoring time makes the play even easier to adjudicate. Sorry, Ken.
All right, we're at 9 o'clock. So I'm not going to go through this, but I would recommend everybody getting definitions is my favorite section because it's big, long, and I think we should be reading it every day, especially because we can't get on the floor and do anything. So we got to be in our rule book. We got to be watching film. Section 4, just do what you can, but get just tomorrow or even tonight before you go to bed, get in 23. Guarding, just go over that. A lot of things we talked about and the clips that we shown, you can actually go get in the rule book. And again, I'm a big believer on understanding rules can really help you with your judgment. Any closing factors from anybody? Feel free to say anything you'd like. We want to get out of here in the next couple of minutes. So again, I appreciate you guys coming on. Coaches, thank you for coming on. It is recorded. So if you want to go back and take some notes and do that, I will put the link up probably tonight or tomorrow on our Facebook page. And if you're not on the Facebook page, you can email me or text me, coaches. You're more than welcome to get with me and I can send you a link. We put all our Zoom meetings on our YouTube channel. Reggie, go ahead.
Just real quick, I just need a little clarification on what you said on the first clip. As far as an airborne shooter at the end of a quarter that has released the ball and a defensive player coming underneath, not allowing them to land, versus an airborne shooter landing and then a foul. Which one do we penalize?
All right, so
I
confused myself. As soon as I said it, I'm like, dang, let me just move on because I confused myself. So
I wasn't gonna say nothing, Reggie.
I know. So an airborne shooter, if you shoot and you're an airborne shooter and the ball is released and then the horn goes off and you get hit on the way down, we're shooting. I was trying to say was if you shoot the ball gets released, then the horn goes off, you return to the floor. Now you're not an airborne shooter and you get ran over. And it's not intentional or technical, then we have nothing. We go to the court.
There you go, sir. I appreciate it.
Sorry, I know, my bad, man. Sorry. It's been a long day.
Kenny. Today was a lot better participation. I really think that it would help the veterans to not say as much if we had a little bit more communication. So I think it was better. It's definitely an improvement. I see improvement every week, and now people are starting to apply the things that we've been talking about. So I appreciate doing these meetings. It's really helpful, I think.
Agreed. Yeah, it's tough. I get it because we do have a lot of the same people talking, but I put the onus on people that don't talk, right? And so I get it. Some of you don't want to. It's fine. You don't want to put yourself out there, but to me, that's the only way you grow and get better. Because if you're thinking about something, I bet only another referee in here is thinking about it as well. And it's better to ask a question. There's no silly questions on here, because I'm telling you, that's the only way that we get better. And the more questions we have, the more dialogue, and then it probably answers a lot. Because I don't want any referee leaving here not having an understanding on something. So if you had like a question today and you decided not to do it, well, you didn't get the answer. That's on you. Of course, you can hit any of us offline, but I agree with Kenny. The participation is getting better. Just get out of your comfort zone. That's all it is. Again, we can't work right now. This is all we got. So it's okay to put yourself out there. The coaches want to hear from you, and we want to hear from coaches as well. So again, I agree. Great meeting. I appreciate everybody jumping on.
Mark,
Yes.
Hey,
Diana, go ahead.
Hey, real quick, guys, since there's over 40 officials on here, I just want to let y'all know you're going to get an email tomorrow from me with the needs assessment that I've talked about a couple of times in emails and stuff. And so please take the time to fill it out. It should take you less than 5 minutes. So please look for that email and get that completed, because that'll be real helpful, and there'll be more information on that email about it. So thanks, guys.
Mark, if you allow me, the only thing I like to say is, because I was one of those guys that was kind of afraid to talk at first. There's no judgment on here. It's all about learning. So I think that's what the mentality that everybody has to get into. The ones that don't want to talk is the no judgment part.
Agreed. Thanks. Yeah, Mike's on it all the time. We appreciate it. Yes, Michael. Is that Michael?
Yeah, I wanted to just say one thing that happened on a different Zoom call, but I believe it was a good nugget, because a lot of these fouls by rule versus things we might not call as officials in a 3-person crew, but that the nugget they gave was that if we come on the court speaking the same language, everything would be the same. It would be fluid. We would understand we're calling freedom of movement from the jump of the game. So then if everybody has that understanding, we all speak the same language, we don't have any problems with making those calls or discussing them with each other. We know, hey, that was a foul. We already said that was going to be a foul. I just thought that was really a good point that they gave us.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. And it's funny because I even talked about this. My next podcast is exactly, I've been so busy with my kids, but my next podcast is actually on speak the same language. That's it. As officials, I couldn't agree with you anymore. That's exactly what we need to do. If we do that, we're more consistent with our terminologies, and then obviously the way that we call. Coaches don't get as mad with us. That's the biggest gripe with coaches, is not being highly consistent. So I totally agree with that as well. Yeah, so people are asking how to talk. You just unmute yourself. That's it. So if you're on your smartphone or whatever, there's a button you go to at the bottom. It'll have you. Everyone's unmuted when you come in. You just have to go unmute yourself. Now, we have a really good – yes, exactly. We have a really good Zoom expert. Her name is Erin Galloway. She does free tutorials beforehand. Right, George? So if you want to get on early and say, hey, Erin, can I jump on with you? She'll give you a 5-minute rundown, and she's a lot better than me. All right? I'll get you nice and busy, Erin. All right? Appreciate you guys. Enjoy yourselves at this time. I know it's a little weird. Stay safe, and we'll hopefully see everybody soon. All right? Take care.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
Mark.